Welcome to another session of Meditations with Marigny. And we are live today. So I have I'm traveling. For those of you that follow me on a regular basis, you know that we are knee deep in the college process. So my son has been accepted to probably about 20 schools, and we've narrowed it down to about 5 that he's strongly interested in. However, he is also, for those of you that follow me, he is also a baseball player, and he is looking to get recruited. And so this morning we're going to complete 2 tasks today. He's actually visiting with one of the campuses that he's strongly interested in. And then when we leave that campus, we're going to drive over to another campus where he is actually going to do a workout for one of the baseball assistant coaches. So that's exciting. I wanted to hop on because in this drive and this process of riding up the hill, riding up the road, several things happened. I was driving along, and I'm kind of in these mountainous areas. You know, when you come through Alabama and Tennessee, even in the Carolinas, especially North Carolina, you have areas where it's really mountainous. You can tell like those roads are built on the mountain. And I can't really say that I'm afraid of heights, which I really feel that I am. But when I get on those roads, even though I'm on the road, my stomach can tell that I am either going up a mountain or it can tell really when we're coming down, especially those areas like in Tennessee. There's a couple of places where the road loops like this. Oh my God, it just does something to my stomach. And it made me think about the highs and the lows of relationships, the highs and the lows that we go through for compatibility, compatibility. And sometimes we find ourselves going through hills, valleys that we're not familiar with. And then sometimes we find ourselves going through hills and valleys that we are familiar with, but we need to put an end to those circumstances, or we need to, in our maturity, we should have grown and developed. And what kind of made me start thinking about this on the way up, my son, he asked me when we first left the house, he said, well, Mom, I was going to drive. And I said, well, no, let me start out, because I knew we had to make one other stop. And I kind of wanted him to get accustomed to the road of going to this particular school, because it's not a highway drive. It's more side highways. And I was like, well, maybe I'll let him drive on the side roads, and that way he can get accustomed to that if he chooses to go here. But as I was thinking and riding, and I'm sorry, y'all, I'm just a little distracted, making sure I keep my eyes on the road. As I was driving, I was listening to a couple of podcasts, and I think it's always stimulating for me I'm always looking to grow. I'm always looking to develop. I'm always looking to learn something new, not necessarily experience something new, but just to learn, to grow, to be somebody better today than I was on yesterday. And one of the podcasts that I was listening to, it's one of the guys that I listen to on a regular basis. His name is, I think, Trill TC. He's one of the guys from tonight's conversation. Light-skinned one. He always wear a cap, got a beard. I know Trip used to be on there, but it's not Trip, it's the other one. And he's married to a bodybuilder. And one of the things he was talking about on this clip that I watched of him, he was saying, stop dealing with people that don't know how to handle you. And he was talking about when you connect yourself with people that can't really understand your value. And I'm not talking about the false value that society is promoting now. I'm talking about when people they know the value that you are or that you bring to the table, but they don't honor that. And so he was speaking of, thank you, For thanks, yes, Jesus did die for our sins and rose again, that we might have life and have it more abundantly. That's amazing that you would say that, because that was something I was thinking about this morning. But he was talking about people that can't really value you, and how they then will mistreat you in the process, but also they will then begin to do things that may come against your own confidence and your own personality trait. And like, you guys know I talked about the online dating process. And one of the things that I feel was most valuable in that 6-month process is that it helped me to better internalize who I am. Like, most people are looking to externally change something, but internally, the process of me doing the online dating, it helped me to be more self-reflective. It helped me to be to have an introspective instead of an external perspective, or an external perspective. It helped me to really kind of just be very comfortable in who I am. And when I say that, not with a point of arrogance, but just to be comfortable in my own skin. And in me being that, sometimes that can be very intimidating to other people. And that's men and women. Most recently, a couple of the things that I experienced, I had to ask myself, like, what did I do to her? And I had to think about it. I didn't do anything. But when you're just genuinely happy, like you get up every day and you have something that you're just grateful for waking up. You're grateful for the simple things. My kids are safe. My son didn't have a seizure. My other son, as he drives every day, sometimes I tell him, son, I need for you to check in, because you're driving that car and you're still a young driver. And one of the things that I looked at is I was very intentional with when I purchased his car. I didn't get a car that had a whole lot of power, because this child, that's my child that would test the power of a vehicle. So we talk about the power of God. That one right there, he would test it. And he wouldn't intentionally want to do it, but it's in his DNA is gonna test the line. So with me knowing that, why would I then put that level of power in his hands? Well, it's the same way with us as adults. If we know that we're dealing with someone that has the capacity to take us to another level, why would we put that power in their hands? And and just being self-reflective and making sure that we look at the things that we do. We are in control of our own actions. We cannot control the actions of anyone else. And even the best of us, if I'm completely honest, when I look back over my marriage and my second marriage and the things that went on there. Now, my first marriage, I'll be honest, there was just a high level of innocence there. But that's with both of us. There was a high level of innocence. We really didn't know. We didn't know what we were doing. you know, and even I was thinking about him this morning, just with some things that he shared with me recently, and just praying for him, because he really did try to be the best husband that he could possibly be. He was the best husband that he knew to try to be. He didn't have a model that was before him. And so with that, he tried to give what he felt was best. But with my second marriage, he knew better. There were some things that he understood. And when I look at that marriage, though I was not trying to do it, we have to look at our portion that we did with that. I was trying to control certain things that he wasn't the type of guy that could be controlled. And even in him being in the wrong, he was not going to right that wrong based upon me acting or becoming a certain way. And that's why even now, in my dating process and things of that sort, you guys, I can only take ownership for what I can do. When a young man shows me who he is and what he does, we can be friends, and I can keep him at a distance. But as far as me moving into anything serious, if I already see that he has a cheating type spirit, I'm going to let him stay over there in the cheating type spirit space. If I already see that he has a lion spirit, I'm going to let him stay in the lion space. If I see that he has a game plan spirit, I'm going to let him stay in the game plan space. Now, one thing about me is I'm a really funny person. Like I like to have a good time. So I think sarcasm and, general badger that goes along with dating, I think that's very healthy. It's very normal and it's very healthy for all of us. But going back to what Trill was talking about with what we allow and how we allow people to change us, I think that the more that healthy people come into a place understanding that they are more valuable, not more valuable than someone else, but more valuable than not doing the work to get to where you need to be. If you meet two people, everybody is going to have to do work at some way or some capacity. And if you meet two people that say, one of the therapists that I listened to, and I'm going to come back to that point that I was just trying to make. One of the therapists that I listened to, and she was one that I was just listening to that made me come on and do this video. And she was talking about people who come into her practice and she's giving them the practical tools to do the work. Because what most people don't understand, going to therapy is not about the therapist doing the work, but going to therapy is basically you having a coach or somebody that is helping you to work through some level of internal defect, or I don't know if I really want to say defect, some level of internal improvement that you need to do. So if you're going to that person, they're just got it. Like, you might already know that you need to do this, but having that accountability that you're going to meet with this person every week is going to make you build that muscle. And one of the things she was talking about is people who come into her practice and they are getting the information, but they won't go do the work. So she was talking about how over a period of time, and I'm going to come back to my main thought that I had previously. She was saying over a period of time, those people will stop coming to her because they're not going to want to come and give her the same answer for the work that she gave them that they should have been doing the previous week. If she told you to go home and write down 10 things and then study those 10 things and put them in order for this, that, and the other, and then you come back the next week and you didn't do the homework, well, okay, you can say the first week, oh, I got busy, I didn't have time to do it, da, 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 da. But like she was saying, if somebody has been coming to her for a year and they have not done the work, then eventually she begins to tell them, hey, what we're doing here is not working, and I'm going to refer you out to someone else that might be able to help you get to what you need to do. But at the end of the day, she was like, it work for people to grow and improve. That is an internal thing. That is work that you have to do within yourself. And I can speak to that because the work that I have done is not something that I did externally. I may have changed in the physical on the outside, but I am a changed woman on the inside. And the thing is, for most relationships, when people have to step away from a relationship for a minute, when they come back, they're not the same person. That's on both parts. They're either going to be better, improved, they're going to be more keen at whatever it was, or they're going to consistently be doing what they've done before, but they're going to be better at it. And so I'm going back now to my point that I was going to make. One of the things that she talked about is that we are living in what is called a therapeutic relationship time period. She said that basically it's going to be two people who come together. It's no longer just, we in love, we're going to get married. And especially in our age group, because this particular therapist is like 58. She's a little bit away from 60 years old. And she's been doing this practice for about 30 years. And what she was saying is that we have moved into what is called like a therapeutic relationship. That means that there are two people who are already working on themselves. They are interested in change. They're interested in growth. And they look at each other and say, I think that where you are and what you want to work on I can be working on myself, you can be working on yourself, and as a couple we can work through some things together. Because if it's someone that really wants to change and they are willing to put in the work, that is a different person from somebody that says that they want to change but they don't do anything about it. And even going down to that, you know, we have to hold one another accountable. And when I say we have to hold one another accountable, that's in our personal lives, in our professional lives, and even in us holding people accountable. There is a difference between, let's just say, an employee that if you call them in and you have a conversation with them, and that employee then goes back out and they do the same thing that you just had the conversation with them about, and then you call them in again and you have a conversation with them, but this time you have a write-up to it, and they go back out and they do the same thing. They don't make any changes, they don't make any adjustments, and you call them back in again and you do a second write-up. You add some additional support, maybe give them a partner, a mentor. So you put the things in place to help them, and they go back out and they do the same thing. Then that employee cannot complain when they get fired. But if you have an employee that you call in and you say, these are the things that I need for you to work on, and let's just say they don't get them all right first time, but then they go and they try to make the adjustment. They try to make the necessary adjustment. And in their doing that, they make some mistakes and they may not get to exactly where they need to be, but they are able to complete a task. Then you say, okay, this person is trying to grow. They are trying to develop. And so you don't call that person in and write them up again. What you do is say, hey, I see where you made improvements in this area. Let's see if we can give you some support right here, because it still looks like you need a little support right here. And the next thing you know, you have groomed this person to be probably one of the best employees that you will have on your team. There is a difference between those two. And I'm saying that because even with us in our regular life, there's a difference between an employee that tries to do better. There is a difference between a man and or a woman who truly puts forth an effort to do better. Now, that also has a lot to do with what is do better to one person versus to another. Like if you're having open conversations, and one of the things that I was talking with a young man about most recently, we were talking about the dating process, and he said to me, well, how do you have that conversation with someone? And I said to him, in our 50s, how do you not have that conversation? I don't think at 50 something that you should be not having conversations that are hard. You should be having conversations that are difficult. You should be having conversations that are challenging. You should be having conversations that are pushing you to another level. Because at this age and stage, you're not doing the things that we did in our 20s and when we were younger. And especially if you're dating for marriage. If you're dating for a solid relationship, no, you need to be asking hard questions up front. And you need to be looking at the answers that people give you and understanding that if that's not the route that they're wanting to go, don't try to push them into that. Let them go in the direction that it is that they want to go in. And you stay in your lane and keep doing what it is that you're doing. I think, and I was guilty of this years ago. I'm not guilty of it anymore because now I really do accept people for who they are. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't stop loving them or caring for them. It's just the way that I'm going to care for them, because I'm going to always be me. And that's the part that is sometimes difficult for some people. It is difficult sometimes for people to accept you for loving them when they feel like they don't need to be loved. That's good right there. It's difficult for them to understand, how would this person love me? And I know that I have these particular flaws. I know that I have these particular deficits. And this person still treats me with honor and with respect and with a level of regard when I don't feel like I deserve that myself. Well, that's work that that person needs to do on themselves. That's not something that I can control. And in the end, you know, you want to be with people that can love you through your flaws. I know I got to have somebody that can deal with my little sassy mouth. I got to have somebody that can deal with my sarcasm. They can understand that I'm coming from a place of, you know, I'm a helper. And so sometimes I can overhelp. They might have to tell me, baby, I got this. Like, I don't really need your help with that. And I have to be okay as a helper with knowing that he's not being disrespectful. He's not telling me that he doesn't need me. He's just saying that he got that. He can handle it. And I need that. I need it because it is my natural instinct to want to assist, to want to support. In 1 mile. And so, you know, I'm just going to say to you guys that if you meet someone, if you meet someone who, you know, shows you that they're interested in you, they have a viable process of sharing with you things that, you know, you typically wouldn't share with anyone else, or they wouldn't share with anyone else. You all have a sense of understanding. Don't take that for granted, and don't discount people. One of the things that she talked about her counseling services is that she said there are many good men out here. She said, I want y'all to know there are many, many, many good men out here. There are many, many, many good women out here. And she said, basically, hold on, y'all. She said, basically, those good men and good women are not going to look like what you are looking for them to look like. Sorry, y'all. My GPS is kicking in. She basically was saying that the good men are not going to, they probably not going to look like what you expected them to look like. She was saying it's not that they're not going to be attractive, but they're going to be calm, and they're going to be like, they're not going to bring a whole lot of drama, and, you know, it's not going to be feisty all the time. And she also talked about for the men that she talks to in her practice, you know, she might not be the best looking woman to you in your sight. She may not have the figure that you want, or, you know, the particulars that men sometimes like. She said, but she would be the woman that would support you and support your vision and be able to assist you, you know, in your life. So I think that I find that very hopeful, because I do believe that, as I shared with you guys during the dating process, I kept a very open mind for how I felt that I was going to look at and view the dating process. I did not close any doors. Every door that I felt could be opened, every young man that I met, I greeted him with an open mind, and still am. You know, even in the process right now, I am still greeting them with a very open mindset. So, you guys, I'm getting closer to my destination. I was on a little highway, and I think now I'm going to have to listen to my GPS a little bit more. But I just really wanted to jump on and just have a conversation with you guys. And I'm going to look at a few of the conversations. Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys for the comments that are out there. I don't know. I still don't know how to respond back to the comments. And I do not know how to get the comments to come back up in the replay. I don't know if you guys can see it. Somebody, I think I read somewhere I needed to go and I need to go and do it from a desktop, and that way it would show it to me a little bit differently. But I have just about made it to our first destination, and I'm just gonna stop right here for a second. We've just about made it to our first destination. So you guys, I want you guys to just be in prayer with us as well as we go forward in this final days of college decisions, and even keep him lifted in the different locations that he's going to go to actually try out for some of these teams. So thank you. I see you say you got good energy. Thank you. I try to, I think that so many people walk around like just in such an unhappy space. Like people always are never smiling. So I kind of make it a habit, like when I'm out, to just say, hi, how you doing? Hello, good morning. Even the students in my building, I notice that they are almost in shock when I speak to them as we're walking down the hall. And the good thing is, you guys, some of the students, just from me engaging with them, some of the boys, sometimes I go sit at the table with the boys, and I be like, what y'all talking about over here? And they like, we ain't gonna talk about nothing while you sitting here. And then a couple of them now, they just come and they like, hey, Miss so and so, hey, Miss Young, how you doing? Or they'll just come up to me and offer me a hug, and it's amazing because so many people think that boys do not need hugs. I do not know where that came from or why it exists, but the nurturing of a woman, men need that. Men need, and they don't need a mother at this age, but I'm saying the young boys that I deal with in my school, I try to give them that nurturing component. And I'm sure all mothers love their kids, but I even sometimes make it an intentionality to hug my sons, because sometimes we can just get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life. This morning when I dropped one of my sons off, he was getting out the car and he was getting his suitcase and everything. And I said, hey, wait a minute. Like you can't just walk away from me and don't give me a hug. And I'm saying that because, ladies, if you're listening to this video, if you have a man in your life, you need to make sure that in his strength, his masculinity, all those things that he does to show you his strength and his muscles, you must give him a place that he can then rest to be restored. You must use your feminine traits that God gave you to rebuild him, to restore him, so that then he can go back out and be that strong man that you need for him to be. And that means, perhaps giving him a massage. That means sitting down and just listening to his day. You would be surprised at what a simple head massage and rubbing his temples and just allowing him to just unload the things that are going on. Doesn't mean that you got to do anything with it. He may not even be looking for you to solve anything, but he just might need to have a place to just release that, get it out of his system. And then, yeah, if you can, go ahead and let him get some other stuff out too. All right. All right, y'all. I'm not going to cut up. I'm going to get to this school and do what we need to do. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I always hope that you guys can learn something from it. And thank you so much for saying that I have a spark. You encourage me to keep going and making sure that I continue to spread the love that I feel that God has put within me to help me to show the world what love is really supposed to look like, because it's not what we think that it is, but it's the simple things that we do for those that are in our life. Again, ladies, if you got a guy at home, show him some love today. Like, just do something out the ordinary that he wouldn't even be expecting for you to do. Because I need him to just be like in shock, like, what's going on? What she want from me now? And it shouldn't be that way. Like, it really should be such a normalcy that if you walk in your true femininity and he's walking in his true masculinity, it should be a yin for the yang. Every time that he shows up in his masculinity, it should just make your femininity go to a whole nother level. And again, ladies, I'm not talking about what it looks like on the outside. I'm talking about what you bring to him from the inside. All right, y'all. Say a prayer for us. Say a prayer for my son for this workout. And I'm just believing God that he's going to place him in the right place. So pretty soon we'll be coming on and letting y'all know what his signing day is looking like and where he's going. All right. Have a good day, y'all. Bye.